Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at Olympus Central. The prototype for the game has been out for a little less than a week, and I felt it was a good time to kind of look at it from a closer perspective and kind of see a little under the hood and how that was made. A lot of the work that I did for this project went into the dialogue logic. So since I'm fairly new to indie dev, I didn't really have any of those systems in place. Something that I wanted to do for that project was that I wanted to do a bunch of things that I hadn't had the chance to do for characters yet. The dialogues. Let's go back to the dialogues because this by far the thing that took me the most time. So first of all, one thing that I did good and clean with dialogue is that I created some enums. So I got a bunch of enums for each character that contains all the line. And, I should probably break those into what dialogue it is rather than just being 150 lines for each character. And I keep them small as well because otherwise they might just go over the dialogue box and kind of not be able to be read, which will defeat the purpose. And I already have some of those issues because sometimes the vignette, which is on top on the screen, sometimes hides a little bit of the text, but I don't really mind too much. But anyway, so I got my enums for each character. I got my enums for the player choice, which pretty much has like a bunch of things. Anyway, those are all the things you can see by playing. And you have the logic. So you guys will be able to tell me if the way I'm doing this is very, very way too overconvoluted. But yeah, that's so that we saw that this is the logic. We're like, hey, so here's how a dialogue starts. This is dialogue for like the end of the game. So first of all, I'm at my function that says clear everything that is non-dialogue. So I don't want to see the bag icon. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see the task reminder. Then show the vignette. Set the vignette to the texture to whoever is actually talking. Then check for the sympathy. Because each character in the game has a sympathy toward you based on what you do and how you behave with them. If you behave wrong, they might just straight up kill you, or they might just not like you anymore, and it has very little incidence at the current time, but I'm going to build that up so that he makes more interesting choice and decisions in the future. Then show the name. This is Era, so I'm not doing a check to see if you already know about her because she's being introduced right at the beginning of the game. So I know you know Era. But, if this were Poseidon or Hades, I would check, hey, have you talked to this person before? Yes, you know their name. No, you don't know their name, so that's going to be displayed a couple of question marks. Then display the dialog box, and then we get in the middle of it. So first of all, set the variable of which dialog it is. This is Hera source ending dialog. Now set the round, because that is the common trait for each dialog. They all check what round you're at based on what you're clicking on. Then play the character line, which is the function that I made here. Yeah. I only just recently discovered that you can do it or like this rather than just a bunch of ors. So yeah. This is basically we retrieve the enum reference here. Hey, what character is it? And then you have that character says, okay, so that line from that character goes into that text, which is an empty text on the dialog box. And now that this is exposed in here, you can say, oh, I want Hera to say this or that. So that's the benefit of using enums, because otherwise you would have all this text as like variables on the side, text variables, and that would be a million of them, which is how I was doing when I started doing dialogues in Unreal before I learned about enums. So this is a showcase to me to what I learned in working with Unreal, doing a lot more advanced things than I ever done in my entire career with Unreal in the last few months. Then maybe they have 2 lines, maybe they have 3. If they don't have a third one, I'm not displaying it. And then you go to the options, and you have all the dialogue options for the player for all the dialogues. So this is where mistakes can happen very easily. Then I also set how many choices to make sure how many lines should actually and buttons should actually be displayed on screen. Then we go to the buttons. Oh wow, this is just completely insane. So this is button choice 1, button choice 2, and then every time you click on one of them, I'm just making sure that I'm resetting whatever was in dialog options, and then I'm saying then to empty, because eventually they're gonna fill out. And then we look at, okay, so what dialog is this? Is this era intro dialog? Yes, cool. Here's are the 3 options that could happen based on the run. Is it run 1, run 2, run 3, and so forth? And then sometimes I'm setting the run here, sometimes I'm setting the run in the dialog. So yeah, so this is a very simple one, easy one, but then we like, oh no, this is not error intro dialog. Cool. Is this error back dialog? No. Snake dialog? No, 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 until you get the one that you want. Oh yes, it is Poseidon general dialog. Oh cool, which is actually also one of the more complex ones, because this is checking a bunch of things based on what happened and what you already discussed. So there are 5 rounds in here, but some of them repeat themselves. So for example, if you're talking to Poseidon and you already asked about error, then that option is no longer going to be available, because I actually need that to display new options. There's no scrolling through the option dialog, so it's always 3, and sometimes you have 5 things that you might talk about with that character. I haven't seen that many bugs with the dialogue, just one. One that I noticed, so I don't know if it's completely broken or not. I played it several times and double check everything. You let me know if you play the game and the dialogue makes no sense, it's completely broken, it's never, whatever you clicked on and whatever you listen to never makes sense. That should not be the case. And here too, I'm checking like, oh, this is, before I display the player options here, I'm checking, have you asked Era about 80s? Do you actually know about 80s? Because if you never heard of 80s, or if you have never met 80s, then there's no reason to ask any question about 80s. So that's also kind of the logic that's in place. So you could, go talk to Hera, and the first time you do that, you only know Hera, so you don't have any option about Poseidon or Hades. Then you go explore a little bit, you find Hades, and then if you return to Hera, now all of a sudden you get to ask about Hades. And Hera, she's never gonna have anything nice to say about anybody. And that choice is A, B, and C. That goes back to like which button are you gonna click on screen, which one is it, which conversion is it, and so forth, so forth. Rinse, repeat, do that 50 times, and you have the mess that you can see here. Some dialogues, the generic dialogues are the most complex. They have the branching. For example, here you're talking to Poseidon, and then we're checking like, hey, is the tsunami task on? Or has it been resolved? Because Poseidon behavior towards you is completely different based on if you did something for him before or not. So for example, if you start and you haven't done the tsunami task for him, it says, yes, mortal. It's distant, it don't know you, it doesn't really care about you. But you go back and talk to him after the tsunami task, and he looks like, hey, it's my best friend. And right off the bat, he likes you a little more because he's very emotional about the fact that you helped him. So it's going to give you one sympathy right off the bat. And then it keeps going on. And then instead of saying, yes, mortal, it's like, hey, my best friend, how can I help you? It's so happy to see you, right? And then, dialogue options for the player don't really change based on if you completed the task or not. But, it can always be built up if it needed to be. Yes, absolutely. Dialogues are like where most of my work went. Writing them, trying to make them funny, and figuring out the branching. This just makes my eyes bleed a little bit. I'm so looking forward to kind of go back to it and kind of untangle all of that. The C is always the messy things. So in order to make my life a little easier, implementing all that, what I did is, when you got the most branching, I kind of try to make like the A and the B always the same one as possible. So no matter what the situation is, choice A is always going to be about you here. And most of the time it's going to be, let's talk some other time. And then there's that one situation that it might be about Poseidon. And then the C is where the leftovers fell off. So it's pretty much all different. This has nothing. This is all 80s, and this is about Poseidon. So the C choice, whatever is the bottom button on screen for the dialogue, when there's one, is always the more messy one. This is just, yeah. I'm kind of half amused and half ashamed to show you guys that. But this is also, I was told several times doing this clean is not the way we do game jams. And I mean, I worked all these years trying to be as clean as possible because I was always having a tech level designer that would go look at my work, and if it wasn't clean, I was gonna be told I needed to clean my shit up. Yeah, I have another camera as well, which doesn't do much. It's just my record area for when I was doing the vignettes. So yeah, I guess I moved it. Yeah, what's happening? Okay, for some, yeah, okay, it's because I'm, okay, so if I sync the camera, then it's not gonna show anything that's hidden in game. Well, that's interesting. But anyway, this is my blue screen for recording characters, so I will pretty much just, I think I have some of them left. Yeah, I will just basically say, hey, you go here, then I'm gonna give you all your accessories, grab your spear, whatever, and I'm gonna place them everything, line up the way I want. You have your cape, whatever, maybe you have a bow. I wanted to do Artemis, but I didn't have time to do that. And hey, let's give you a couple of horns as well. So that's pretty much, I was like, I'm making my characters like this, and then I will basically just go to Blender and kind of do another pose, and then replace the pose. Yeah, that's the same one, of course. All right, and then Poseidon is sad. Then Poseidon is thankful, and those will be used for the vignettes. So and then I will just, once I have my set of equipment, I will just change the pose. The equipment will stay in place because I made sure to not move the head in any way or not move anything that will break the alignment for the equipment. Then I will just change what camera I'm controlling when I launch the game, say this one, and then I will apply the post process, and that will give me a screenshot that I could take to use for my vignette. And then I will go into PaintNet, kind of remove the blue screen. It's easy contrast, so it's easy to select and just delete it without having to do too much manually erasing. And I will add a white contour to kind of have the silhouette pop up a little more. The result is kind of nice. Some limbs look a little too twisted for once I did the pose in Blender. And some of the scales are wrong as well. Sometimes I needed to move the camera closer or further, and sometimes I forgot, especially when I give these guys some helmets. Yeah, you can see that Hades and Poseidon both have kind of Greek Roman helmets from the Ancient Empire pack. So yeah, those kind of need to put the camera a little further back, and yeah, that just created some differentiation in scale with the Hera that doesn't really need the camera to be that far. So I also had a bunch of issues with UI alignment because the anchors in the viewports kind of give different result when you play the game. So when I launched the game, I realized my UI was like not in the right place. I was clipping to the edge of the screen, or everything was overlapping. I was like, no, what's happening? I don't know much about UI and anchoring, so I'm learning as I go as well. So this was also something that I know a little more of now that I've done this project than I knew before getting in. I wanted to make sure that you could replay the game to some extent and not always have the same experience. And that was important for me, especially for a short thing, maybe 3 weeks. And that was also something new that I've never done, right? I've never done figuring out the logic for like, hey, sometimes you spawn here, sometimes you spawn there and whatnot. So that's something that was interesting to figure it out. And I figured, it will be important for the experience. So therefore, it will need to fit within the 3 weeks time of development that I had for this. So whenever you see a little black cube, it's one of my spawners. And they can... so this is the one thing that I did clean, is that I did make a... it's not what I wanted. No, go away. I don't really code. I do blueprints, but um, I was struggling so hard with the capsule collision on the character class at some point that I figured, okay, maybe it's gonna be simpler to just try to code it. But yeah, it wasn't. So everything I'm doing with blueprints. And this project, I'm proud of two things. I'm proud that I did everything, um, except of course making the art. And I did make some of them, three that I can think of, and some kit bashing for the characters, especially Poseidon. I'm proud that I've done everything by myself. I'm not using any like pre-made blueprint functionality that handles the spawning logic. I'm not using anything that handles X or Y. I kind of build everything from scratch. The only thing that I'm reusing ish is the outline effect from the post process that I'm only using on the vignettes for the characters. So yeah, if I turn this on, then it draws a black outline on. It makes pretty much every edge pixel black, of a thickness of my choice. It could be the color of my choice. This is something that I researched for my previous game. I'm talking like I shipped this. This is not my main game, obviously. I just started 3 weeks ago. So my main game is Quack and I was, before starting this game jam, I was in the process of defining the visual identity for Quack. And I got reminded that, cell shading and outlines can look cool. And I was like, oh, I wonder how that would work. And turns out it worked very nice. It doesn't work here because I'm not adjusting any of the distance parameters. So, the further it is, the blacker it is, or the bigger it is rendered, or something like that. So everything is really, really dark. Also, the overall lighting is not being adjusted to having this process effect. I realized that if you're using a outline plus process effect, you need to boost the lighting. Otherwise, you can have very dark environment, and that glitching also can get annoying. So anyway, this is all research that I made for Quacktails, and I really like the result, and I'm most likely gonna keep that result for Quacktails. And I figure, oh, you know what? I'm gonna use that for the vignettes for my characters because that's gonna give them some depth and some control, and I wanted that. But I'm not using that for the game. So that's the only thing that I happened to do before this game jam that I will use for that game jam, and even then, barely. Yeah. In the things that are not synthes and I'm kind of modeled by myself is this snake. So the snake is most of this one is the alpaca. The alpaca I made myself. It is what it is. Don't try to animate it. Anyway, it was by far the most complex thing that I ever done in Blender so far. I'm pretty happy with the result, but yeah, don't try to animate that. The other things that I did that are not in any Cinti packs are the bra. The bra basically went with Battle Royale, and I kind of extracted that from the sports bra woman character there. There are the horns. The horns you can find in the dungeon pack on the Goblin Shaman, I think. I just grabbed that, kind of made this on mesh, kind of drop it on the character that I wanted to have. There's something else that I was thinking about. The chest plate for Poseidon and the little the snakes. I wanted to show the snakes. Snake. Yeah, so these snakes are very, very basic. I actually grabbed a prop from the Western pack and kind of not extruded, but rescaled it from there and kind of made a little tongue at the end. And that was like, okay, I'm not putting more effort into that. I want to keep working on these games because I do feel that the concept is quite unique and pretty original, and I do feel it will make good content to watch and to play. And I can definitely see people playing this together, right? It's kind of one of those games that you can passively play with somebody else because you're looking for stuff on screen, and anybody around you can help you find stuff on screen. even if they don't control the character or control the camera, right? So they can say, oh wait, turn the right a little bit, yeah, underneath the table there might be something, and then, oh, I missed that, and then because you were playing with someone nearby, they help you beat the timer. Hopefully this wasn't too long of a video. I'm hoping you find some things interesting in here and how this thing was made, and I'll try to keep you updated on some of the updates that are coming. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.